Hey again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Wheel of Albums. We celebrate episode number 50 with this album. I'm Justin, along with my brother Adam and our friend Jack. We've been doing this for 49 albums, and this is our 50th. We each took a spin of the wheel. Jack got War, The World is a Ghetto. Adam got Dire Straits, self-titled. I spun Jesus and Mary Chain's Darklands album, and we put it up for a poll on Twitter, and the winner ended up being the Jesus and Mary Chain's Darklands. So let's give it a spin. How do you guys feel about the Reid brothers' second album from 1987?
Well, for our 50th album on Wheel of Albums, we get the Jesus and Mary Chain's second album, Darklands. I had heard this one before, and I'm familiar, but maybe not in love with the Jesus and Mary Chain. I can't decide. I do know that there are a handful of tunes that I really liked from a prior listen of Darklands, so I'm ready to dive back in.
Album number 50 from the Wheel, Darklands. My initial reaction is about 15, 20 years ago, somebody said they couldn't believe that I had never heard of them or listened to any of their records, so they burned me like 3 CDs of every Jesus and Mary Chain album, song, whatever, because it was so important to them. I believe those discs are still sitting on my baker's rack. I do not know any songs by Jesus and Mary Chain.
My initial reaction to Darklands being spun was, all right, this is a Jesus and Mary Chain album I'm not as familiar with as some of their other ones. The singles on here, love them all. Usually with the Jesus and Mary Chain album, I'm not disappointed. Honey's Dead and Stoned and Dethroned were 2 of my favorite college albums.
So, Justin,
yeah, Adam.
for the 50th episode, we're going to be chock full of some interesting tidbits.
Oh, so some fun facts.
Chock full.
Okay, well, let's start with this. The first album is Psycho Candy from 1985. You can find that on almost any type of critic's list as far as the best albums of the 80s. The album is drenched in feedback. It's got surf pop songs underneath this wall of feedback the whole time. This album is more stripped down, and they did that on purpose, they said, because they wanted to show everyone, hey, we can write songs underneath all that feedback. How do you feel that? If you're familiar with Psycho Candy, how do you feel about the stripped back version on this album?
I was unfamiliar with any version of Jesus and Mary Chain, much less any musical shift. What I notice these songs in this band, or at least this album, is kind of just, it feels a little gloomy. It almost sounds like if the Beach Boys had a brother who didn't like surfing, and he was always happy if the boys couldn't go surfing that day because it was overcast. Back echo or something like the Beach Boys. It sounds a lot like just a sad Beach Boy, a little bit slowed down. Schadenfreude or Schadenfreude.
So if I'm choosing which is the more enjoyable listen between Psycho Candy or if I'm picking Darklands, I think personally I'm going with Darklands. It's cleaner sounding with maybe a little bit better production and a bit more poppier than Psycho Candy. And I gotta say, the stripped back version that the Reid brothers bring to this album escalates their songwriting ability a little bit more.
Everybody has to stay inside so they can play Stay Alive, various board games, Stratego. Brian Wilson was excellent at Stratego.
Jack touches on how these guys are gloomy. They're brought up in Scotland there, and Scotland's probably full of, a lot of dark, rainy days, probably an inspiration for a lot of this album. What is up with the fascination with rain on this album? Is 9 million rainy days too many? And on the final song, the acoustic About You, they croon that the rain makes them feel warm. And of course, Garbage had a huge hit in the 90s. It was pretty much lifted from the Reid brothers here, proclaiming that they're only happy. Well, not that they're only, but they're happy when it rains. What'd you guys get? Did you get any of that rainy day feel when I put this on, next time it's above freezing?
If we were to call Darklands a concept album, the concept for this album would be rain.
Brian Wilson was excellent at Stratego.
Certainly kind of had it on their mind on just about every song, and I read somewhere that this was supposed to be kind of an uplifting and sunny record, but man, they talk about rain a lot.
That I find hysterical because I found it was most effective putting on headsets and walking down a dark path listening to this thing right at dusk at a nice 22 degrees Fahrenheit.
And, even the title of the album tends to make you think of darker times a little bit, like a giant rainstorm is about to be unleashed on you. And it's understandable because these guys are from Scotland, and after researching where their hometown East Kilbride is, they get almost 50 inches of rain a year.
Oh, interesting fact there, Adam.
Chock full. 9 million rainy days feels like an understatement, and no wonder they're only happy when it rains, because they don't have a choice.
They're morose and sad, but they're glad that other people can enjoy the sun and the fun. To express his enjoyment that other people can't go outside. Happy when it rains because Brian Wilson can't go out. 9 million rainy days. Dennis Wilson isn't going to be able to deliver his papers tomorrow. What's going on here? Maybe this guy just had a hydration problem. Dry skin, moisturized. But, well, Jergens might not have been around as much in the late 80s as it is today. Get some lanolin all over your body. Soak it in.
Boy, so there's a lot of fun tunes on Darklands, I think, the more I listen to it. Cherry Came 2 gives out a Roy Orbison vibe to it.
The more I listened to Cherry Came 2, which I was a little less familiar with, the more I thought of Sha Na Na and how Bowser could maybe do a nice bit with that song. And the rest of the fellows could kind of croon William Reid's guitar line in that.
The one that made me think about the Beach Boys the most was Cherry Came 2. So there may be an experiment available to all the boys and girls listening out there, the dozens of people that listen to Wheel of Albums, this being, again, our 50th spin. Maybe if Cherry Came 2, maybe play it at 1.25 speed. Does it sound happier? It probably does. It may, in fact, end up being a Beach Boys song, and it was buried underneath some doom and gloom.
I feel like if the Velvet Underground and the Beach Boys did some baby making in the 60s and then had a 20-something child in the 80s, the Jesus and Mary Chain would be that kid, or the twins of Jim and William Reid. And, they have this vibe of Velvet, but if you pay attention on songs like April Skies and Down on Me, which that's kind of like the find of this time around, I really enjoyed that one. You can get that feel of some surf pop rock, and you can feel that kind of Beach Boys poppiness to it a little bit.
That's really the success of the Jesus and Mary Chain, is they took that type of sound, Adam, gave it to like the 120 minutes generation of the late 80s and early 90s there. First exposure was Head On. Seen the video for that on MTV. That was the album after this on Automatic. They're known for doing lots of different things on their albums from their run from Psycho Candy through Monkey. One thing that's always the same is they are bummed out groovers is what they do the best. Bringing pop sensibilities to fuzzed out rock and roll. Here on Darklands, things are stripped back a little bit more. And I think you gotta be in a certain type of mood to enjoy this. It's not a mood for all days. Definitely the gloomy days, as Jack would say.
There had been a mass stranding of jellyfish on the beach, so it made it unsurfable for the day.
Happy When It Rains is probably the standout track for me that I like the most. April Skies is great. Darklands, the title track, is great. It's got like an alternative Badlands by Bruce Springsteen in a way. And evidently, Jim and William Reid, the brothers, neither of them wanted to sing, so they actually flipped a coin. And I guess Jim lost the coin toss, and he was kind of forced to sing.
Oh, twist my arm, William. I guess I'll sing on this one.
I guess in 1987, when the band performed on Top of the Pops, they were completely wasted from sitting around drinking all day before they played, and the BBC gave them a lifetime ban. And they also spent all summer during the Lollapalooza tour in 1992 being declared probably the worst act on the actual tour because they hated every minute of it.
I mean, they had to play in the afternoon. 2:30 in the afternoon was their spot. Every single day out in the sunshine. These guys shouldn't be out in the sunshine at all. I think we've covered that. And on top of it, they had to follow Pearl Jam. And they were a rising star at the time in 1992.
There are good songs on here, but they're not songs that I personally enjoy. Just because they're good doesn't mean I have to like them. One can only hope that they can shake off this dust upon them that's built up and go outside and enjoy the daylight, the sunshine, the flowers, all that the world has to offer to the Reid brothers.
All right, time for the numbers game. Darklands, on a rating of 1 to 10. Taking all the songs, giving them a rating of 1 to 10, and then dividing that by the number of songs on the album. I scored it highest with the 7.12, Adam with the 6.8, and Jack with the 4.3, for an overall rating of 6.073. Our least favorite song on the wall, but our top 3, Happy When It Rains, April Skies, and Down on Me.
Chock full.
The song Down on Me is not the original version of Jackal's wonderful song Down on Me. Who knows? I'm sure Jackal's going to make an appearance on the 1001 albums you must hear before you die. They can't be denied. Jesse James Dupree will not be denied.
Must you listen to Darklands by the Jesus and Mary Chain before you die? It's kind of a catch-22 for me on this one. If you listen to episode 47, we covered Echo and the Bunnymen's Porcupine. I think that album is better than Darklands. But hear me out. I took a peek to see what albums are on the wheel from Jesus and Mary Chain. Psycho Candy's still on there, so that'll be spun at some point. But there's no other albums by the Jesus and Mary Chain, Mr. Dimery. That's kind of a shame because Automatic, Stoned and Dethroned, Honey's Dead. Some good stuff to get from the Jesus and Mary Chain. I think you, the listener, should listen to something besides Psycho Candy. I'm going to say yes. You must listen to Darklands by the Jesus and Mary Chain. The 3 singles are enough on it to recommend it for somebody to listen to. Jack, those things are on the baker's rack. Maybe you need to pick it up on a gloomy day and listen to all of it. Adam, what do you think?
Do you need to stand under April skies and simply visit the Darklands one time? I feel like Psycho Candy is the album you probably need to hear by Jesus and Mary Chain, but this one, it's got a good feel to it. I like it. I feel like, I'm going to say yes, you need to hear it. I think you need to go out on a cold, misty, foggy morning in April and just kind of take a walk and just kind of get lost in what Darklands has to offer. If you haven't experienced April skies and April showers, have you really lived? I think not.
And Jack, when is it again best to listen to this album?
There had been a mass stranding of jellyfish on the beach, so it made it unsurfable for the day. It does not give me any sense of being, purpose, happiness, sadness. It's emotionless. I cannot recommend that this is an album that you must hear before you die. And it should be definitely mentioned, Brian Wilson was excellent at Stratego.
All right, 2 yays and a nay for our 50th birthday. Adam, go ahead and give that spin for album number 51 next.
Well, the wheel's been spun. And what's this? Billy Corgan wants you to think it's 1979, but we are headed straight to 1995 to spend about 6 hours of listening to the Smashing Pumpkins' huge double album, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. So don't be a zero and tune in next Monday for an all-new episode of Wheel of Albums.
My other source of knowledge of Jesus and Mary Chain, and specifically Darklands, in this occasion, is when I was in record stores, I kept seeing the album cover thinking that the David and David album Boomtown was misplaced and put in the wrong section.
Although from what I understand is that the band themselves, when they play live, get a little bit too drunk and debaucherous sometimes.
Being to a Jesus Mary Chain show once live at the Metropole in Pittsburgh with Jonathan Boyd and Scotty B back in 1994. I don't remember if the Reid brothers were drunken debauchers, but it was quite a rowdy time. I remember they started with Snake Driver, and the whole concert was just a fuzzed out mess. Boyd went up to go crowd surfing one time. I think he landed on his head. The Reid brothers threw a good party that night. Good old Metropole memories.